So let's go over what we covered in this module. Well, the first thing that we did is we defined what a class is. I showed you from a very high level what a class is, and we kind of drilled down deeper, understanding that a class is really a custom type that we're able to make, and that really a class is a grouping of methods and data. We saw that if a class is a blueprint, then an object would be a house, or if a class is a cookie cutter, then an object would be that cookie. Then we went through and we talked about members. We talked about how to make up a class, and that a class consists of data and methods that operate on that data. So we saw how members are really the thing that builds up a class. Then we went through some examples, and I showed you how we could create a class. We created a printer class, and we made some data for that printer class, and we saw how we could create different instances of that printer class and then use those objects and manipulate those objects in our code. Then we went through and we needed to do something useful with our printer class, so we created some methods to be able to print, and we created a method to be able to get our model number from our object. I showed you some of the ways that you could use methods, and we played around with some ways of using methods on our printer class. Then we went over an important point of how to initialize our object. I showed you how you could create a constructor that would allow you to pass in some data that you could use to create your class. And then finally, we went over some of the access modifiers in Java. We didn't cover all of the access modifiers and all of their uses, but we basically went over public and private and saw how we could use access modifiers to hide certain data in our classes and to expose other data and methods. Well, that's it for this module on classes. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about what a class is in Java, and there's a lot more to this subject, but I just wanted to give a basic introduction so that we can build from this and get into some of the more complicated aspects of Java.